Welcome back to the sixth episode of Sadhana, organized by FMF Media, Faculty of Management and Finance, University of Colombo. I am Subodha Veerasurya and I will be your host for today's episode. Talking about Sadhana, Sadhana is an initiative taken by FMF Media to enhance the awareness of undergraduates about current market issues, corporate world behavior patterns, and organizational trends in Sri Lanka. Sadhana also involves in discussing solutions for ongoing issues in the corporate world with our well-known university lecturers, through which students can gain sound knowledge about these issues and how they should address them diplomatically. For today's episode, we have a very special guest with us who is very familiar to all of us in the faculty. She is none other than Dr. Nishani Ekanayaka, a senior lecturer in banking and finance, specialized in bank corporate governance research, and has an extensive research profile with semantic publications. She is attached to the Department of Finance, Faculty of Management and Finance, University of Colombo. Speaking of her, she firstly graduated from the Faculty of Management and Finance, University of Colombo, with a Bachelor of Commerce degree and has a Master of Business Administration degree from the same university. And now she is a proud PhD holder from the Newcastle Business School, United Kingdom. Let me warmly welcome Dr. Nishani Ekanayaka for today's episode of Sadhana.
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And I'm really happy that I can contribute for your Sadhana episode.
So the topic today is the pandemic and its impact on the banking sector. Without taking further ado, let me move directly into the questions. So due to this prevailing COVID-19 pandemic, Sri Lanka faced vast array of difficulties as COVID-19 has significantly impacted on the Sri Lankan economy. So, madam, I would like to know what are your observations on this impact to the country?
Yes, COVID-19 has dramatically reshaped the world in which we live, with tremendous economic and financial effects alongside the public health emergency. Sri Lanka's economy was impacted by the pandemic, with several critical sectors of the economy, such as tourism, construction, real estate, and apparel sector. So if we take our apparel industry, it was badly hit by the shrink in the global economy. Our major apparel destinations such as USA, UK, and Italy, these countries were severely affected by the COVID pandemic. Lower consumer spending in these affected countries has crippled the demand, that is from the demand side. But if you take the supply side, the apparel sector imports most of its raw materials from China. Lockdown in China has halted the production lines and interrupted the supply chains for the apparel sector. At the same time, factories had to face unexpected labor issues, which disrupted the production process. Pandemic also forced to shut down the airports and other territories of the country, eventually brought the tourism income about almost zero, one of the key foreign exchange revenue sources. India was the largest source of tourists in 2019, followed by UK and China. There were nearly no arrivals due to the lockdown in these countries. Sri Lanka also has a trade deficit as we import more than we export. Even some of the imports were restricted. There are several essential items we need to import, such as crude oil, food items, other materials for export items. The country needs to pay for those imports in international currency, which is US dollars. But the US dollars we received from export and worker remittance is not sufficient to pay for those import bills. That resulted in a shortage of US dollars in the country, and which forced the Sri Lankan rupee to depreciate significantly. Banks had to face this exchange rate risk in this case. But if you take the telecommunication industry, actually, from outer appearance, it has a positive impact, as there was a sudden shift to large-scale remote working. This led to a significant surge in the demand for bandwidth. But the telecommunication providers were not ready in terms of the capacity and the coverage reach. At the same time, consumers were demanding low-cost solutions that will erode the telecommunication providers' margins. Hence, they have to spend on capacity expansion, leading to more capital expenditure outflows, and offer low cost and high volume packages, which lead them to have low profitability. So due to this COVID-19 pandemic, I believe the economy and the major sectors of the country will be largely reshaped in the future. Business need to rethink on their capabilities, which they would require to thrive in this new reality.
Thank you, madam, for your broad answer, which covers many aspects of the economy. So let's specific our focus on the banking sector. Madam, how will you describe the impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the banking sector, and how will coronavirus outbreak impact to the stability of banks?
Yes, so this drag on the economy due to the pandemic was reflected in the domestic banking sector. Banking sector experienced a contraction in the credit extension to the private sector. And also they have deteriorated the credit quality of banks' portfolio. The outbreak especially is expected to have impact heavily on the bank's asset quality. The greatest initial impact is likely to be in loans to industries most affected by the pandemic, such as tourism. With this increase in non-performing loans, which we also call as NPL, banks are required to maintain more provisions as a buffer. This again impacts to the profitability of banks. And also the banking sector's net interest income declined drastically due to the slower credit growth and the declining of the interest rate, and also debt moratoriums imposed by the central bank. Usually banks make a profit from this NIM, or we call as net interest margin. But lowering this gap due to the reduced interest rates is now impacting banks' earnings to a greater extent. Due to the depreciation of Sri Lankan rupee, banks has to face the exchange rate risk as well. They have to negotiate with local importers to delay the payments for their foreign counterparts. All the three major credit rating agencies downgraded the country to the lowest rating level. This downgrade of country rating resulted in lowering local banks' credit rating also. This in turn increased the cost of borrowing from the international market and international sovereign bonds issued by Sri Lanka that also start trading at a deep discount rate. So big banks who own and invested on those bonds had therefore faced a loss. Meanwhile, as the interest rate was at a lower level and the market has enough excess liquidity, several banks issued long-term debentures that can be considered as their tier 2 capital, which strengthened the capital base of these banks. But if you take a positive change, which we can witness during the pandemic, is the digital banking progress, which has been accelerated due to the increasing need to serve customers remotely and efficiently. This in turn gives an opportunity to remodel banking operations. In conclusion, relief measures are still practiced by the government and the central bank to boost the banking system. However, it is yet to fully recognize what is the full impact of the pandemic on the banking sector.
Thank you, madam, for highlighting some important points. So as we all know, and as you have highlighted in your previous answer, government had taken some broad steps to eliminate the impact of COVID-19 on banking sector by imposing a debt moratorium, lowering interest rates, and offering loan facilities to support smooth functioning of business and financial well-being of nation. So, madam, how do you explain the impact of those support activities in the short term and the long term?
Yes, so as you said, in order to stimulate economic activities and to support COVID-19 hit businesses, Central Bank has announced a range of policy measures. This includes refinancing facilities for banks, low interest working capital loans, moratoriums and loan repayments, and several other concessions on the personal loans. So the central bank reduces the interest rates. If you take after March 2020, central bank reduced the interest rates 4 times, bringing down the borrowing cost for people to start a business. Central bank also reduced the statutory reserve ratio, SARR, by 3%, injecting more money to the capital market, where the banks have enough money to lend to people. Eventually, pandemic has forced interest rates to come down, and also that has created excess liquidity in the market. In the short term, these new interest rates will reduce the profit margins and would impact to the bank's profitability. But if you take in long term, this will have a negative impact on assets quality, which means a surge in the non-performing loans will be witnessed. Currently, the full impact of non-performing loans or the loans which are not performing is difficult to reveal if you look at the bank books because of the concessionaries given by the government and due to the large provisions that they made. Even though the interest rates are reducing, banks have assets already invested in fixed term, in the long term, such as leasing. So though banks would enjoy the concessionary given for the moment, in the long term, bank would face difficulties in relation to this portfolio and assets repricing.
Thank you, madam, for that rich answer. So, Sri Lanka is a bank-based country that heavily relies on the banking sector. How the pandemic can lead the banks to a banking crisis which might eventually affect the entire nation. Madam, I would like to know your ideas on this matter.
Yes, though Sri Lanka is a bank-based economy where the economy heavily relies on the banks, I would not expect banking failures or crises with a systemic impact. We haven't witnessed any of such with our previous crisis also, because central bank or the government would successfully come in and bail out in such a case. Central bank is very protective of the system, so it won't let major banks to fail, which will have a drastic impact to the economy in other way. However, due to the instability which we can see, especially from some smaller banks, we might see mergers in the future, not crisis, but mergers in the future. Mergers would not become an option, but a must in such type of a situation.
Thank you, madam. Those were really important points for, I think, for administrators of the bank. So let's moving on to the non-performing loans. So non-performing loans is a severe problem in the banking sector. When analyzing the past non-performing loan patterns, Sri Lankan banks were on an increasing trend. And currently, banks are earning lower returns because of the pandemic. So how can you explain, madam, how these two can affect the long-term sustainability of banking system?
Yes, in the pandemic situation, when we look at what is happening around in the financial market, banks would definitely face credit default, because if you look at the purchasing power of consumers are also decreasing. Many has lost jobs, many businesses closed down, so the spending power of the consumer is also eroded. For long-term sustainability, banks have to focus more on non-interest earnings or other earnings without relying majorly on the interest income as they usually used to do. Besides this, massive cost structures of banks are also a concern. So if I talk about cost structures, if you look at the amount of investments banks have made on their branch expansion, infrastructures, and staff, it is enormous. It is now becoming essential for banks to move into digital modes from their brick and mortar models. This will allow them to lower the expenses and thus to engage more with value-adding sustainable investments. So to have this long-term sustainability, this is one option that banks can think of.
Thank you for that informative answer, ma'am. So let's move on to the next question. Due to prevailing pandemic, banks reduced their interest rates. So lower interest rates on deposits have heavily affected on people who completely rely on interest income. How can they plan their future investment plans or retirement plans?
Yes, with the lower interest regime that we can see what is practiced by banks, with these lower interest rates on deposits, there is a push for public. Public are more motivated to invest more in businesses and other investment rather than traditionally rely on bank interest income. However, this lower interest rate would severely impact our senior citizens who might depend only on the interest income that they get from a bank fixed deposit. The options, in this case, it is important to look at what are the options available for the general public, right? To move their investments away from the bank's fixed deposit. Maybe they can invest in real estate business, imports, and maybe they can start a small business, small and medium local businesses. So I personally view this change as a value adding initiative for the economy. So if you look at other economies, the interest rate is very low for the deposit, sometimes zero interest rate for the savings account, zero interest rates in other countries. So in that case, people will not motivated to deposit the sum, the additions that they have in a bank. Instead, they will start up a business and give some employment opportunities to people in the market. So like that, moving investors away from their comfortable seats is very important, right? And to make them try out new ventures and investment plans. This will definitely become a value adding factor to the economy.
Thank you, madam. Those points would definitely be valuable insight for the customer. So let's move on to the last question of the day. Under the COVID-19 pandemic, which has become the new normal, many organizations have moved from physical platforms to virtual platforms. These virtual platforms or the virtual environments require different ways of building and maintaining customer relationships. So, how can banks build and enhance their relationships with its customers in post-pandemic era?
Yes, so that is a very important question. If you look at the amount of change happening around us, banks who have already made significant investment in digital banking are seeing their investments bear fruits in this pandemic's social distance requirement. Most banks are strengthening and aggressively marketing their digital channels to take advantage of this new norm. It is increasingly evident that the need to remodel banking business in the digital space, especially in the given the minimum switching cost for the customers, what the customers is experiencing nowadays in the industries, minimum switching cost, right? Minimum cost of time, minimum cost of amount, or the time saving, cost saving, it occurs with the minimum switching cost. So digital banking strategies have a huge role to play in this. We already have 100% digitalized banks. If you look at other Asian countries, the competition which brings by these banks in terms of speed, quality, and convenience cannot be overcome if a bank is unable to invest in more digitalized services. If you take the business model perspective, all kinds of fintechs are now operate. Most of the workers in the banks are becoming more and more software engineers. They recruit more and more software engineers, especially focusing in these digital banking services. So you can see the extent of change which is now on our doorstep. The change in terms of services, employees, customers is vast. But however, if you look at Sri Lankan culture, sometimes for the customers, it might be a difficult way to change to these digitalized systems. They might still want to go to a bank to meet bank manager, but however, it is fast changing and it is high time for change. Therefore, I think banks should invest more and more on this digital service and motivate their customers also to come and work with them with this new relationship. So it is a must for banks to rethink their business models and strategies to invest more in their digital spaces.
Thank you, madam, for those valuable insights. So it has been such an insightful and knowledge-broadening session to discuss upon a timely topic of this nature in the current context. On behalf of the FMF Media Unit and the team Satahana, I would like to thank you, madam, for joining us today for the 6th episode of Satahana and sharing your valuable thoughts with our passionate viewers.
Thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Sadhana. Stay tuned with us and do join us for more of the very latest. Stay safe and thank you.